Detroit in Black and White. This is our Friday edition. Damn, Jim, it's just me and you tonight, huh?
Yeah, I think you scared a couple people off. Happy weekend, everybody.
Well, Jim Nardone, I'm Adolph Mongo, and here we are. Man, let's get rocking. We supposed to have mayoral candidate Ty Perkins on tonight. And when he comes on, we'll bring him on.
There's our long lost friend, Queen Bee. Hey, Queen Bee.
No question. We haven't seen Queen Bee in a long time. Before we get started, I just want to, Duggan raised $3.2 million for governor, right?
He did. How'd he do that?
Is that going to make a difference?
Who's giving him the money?
The same bullshit people that always give the money.
Well, we hope Queen Bee had a great vacation. Hey, Karen. Hi, Jan. On Purpose. How you doing? How's everybody tonight?
Emmett Till would have been 84 years old.
True sensation.
Did people know that Emmett Till's father served in World War II and was hung in Italy by being accused of raping two Italian women who said later on after the war that he never did anything to them. So Emmett Till had the bad draw of the luck, unbelievable. Speaking of Duggan, we got a governor's race, and then we got a U.S. Senate race. We got Joe Tate running for Senate. Remember Joe Tate?
I do.
He was useless as a Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House, the Michigan House.
We got Haley Stevens, Congresswoman. What you think of her?
Not a heck of a lot, but I mean, she's your run-of-the-mill, follow the leader Democrat.
Why you don't like her?
Well, I can't say I don't like her. I want some original thoughts. That's all. I want some people that are doing something a little different.
I can deal with her. Then deal with they put a star on the back of Mallory
McMorrow.
Okay.
Sorry.
Who the fuck is she?
Well, she is. She's a housewife from. I think she grew up out there, the same general area where Haley Stevens, and
she illegally got elected to the Senate.
Well, I don't know about all that.
Yeah, because the Democratic Party, the assholes, they redistrict the city where they diluted the vote and put Detroiters in majority suburban districts and shit, and a person like Mallory got elected until the court said you got to redraw the fucking political lines. What? Don't nobody in Detroit know her, and I'm not talking about the people outside. She unrepresented Birmingham and Royal Oak and stuff, and all of a sudden she's the flavor of the month. I don't know what's the attraction.
Mallory McMorrow, she's got some spirit and she's got some heart, and that's what's lacking in the Democratic Party.
What kind of heart?
She's fighting back. When people attack her, she fights back.
There's a whole lot of people fighting back.
And Bernie Sanders is supporting the former health director, what's his name, Al Sayed, or he's also running for that Senate seat.
Well, yeah, Bernie Sanders. Fuck Bernie Sanders. He needs to stay right fucking in Vermont and doing his thing. He's too fucking old and whatever.
Is it Al Sayed? Is that what it is? Is that
whatever. Hopefully we can have some of the Senate candidates coming on, and I'm gonna reach out to the Stevens campaign and etc. to see if they want to come on and talk about what their vision of Michigan in the next 4, 5, 6 years.
Hello to our colleague Eric Brown, who says that she lives in. He said it's up there. I've been there before. Pleasant Ridge is where the former governor's from, right? Kind of Royal Oak North or South or whatever it is. Pleasant Ridge is a nice little community there in Oakland County. But I think Haley Stevens went to Birmingham Seaholm, and I think
Ernest Seaholm High School. I don't know why I know the names of all this shit, you know.
And I think
Wally E. Groves High School in Birmingham. Why do I know that? And then we know remember Dondero High School in Royal Oak?
I do.
It was named after George Dondero. He was a supervisor and the first mayor of Royal Oak. He was a supervisor of Royal Oak Township, the original Royal Oak Township. You know, I don't know why I know this shit. Don't want to know it, but I do know it.
You got a head full of useless information, is what I like to say.
Yeah, some of it is useless. Some of it, you know it. And so
Queen Bee and on purpose talking about Mr. Kinlock. I don't even want to address that because I think that's ridiculous. We all made mistakes.
I think it's ridiculous too. But you know what? But we're gonna have to talk about stuff like that and Mac Morrow.
Yes, Eric, it's a general area.
Haley Stevens and Joe Tate. I'm just not feeling her. You know, when she ran for the Senate and they redistrict that Senate seat, and her and Marshall Bullock, who was the senator that represented that district, the former district, and I wanted to. You know what? I wanted to beat up on her and stuff, and the former senator Marshall Bullock said, "I made a pact with her, and we're not doing that kind of campaign." So he got his ass kicked, and then the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeal claims says, "Y'all got to redo this shit because it's bullshit." So. You know, she shouldn't have been elected. So
good evening, Mr. 1213. Queen Bee's talking about another candidate. I'm not excusing domestic violence. I think it's terrible, but you know, when someone's 20 years old.
No, it's 32 years old.
No, I mean he was 20 when it happened, right?
19.
These kind of things. You know, your life is a lot different at 20 years old than it is at 30, 40, or 50. I'm not excusing them. It may be newsworthy, but it's not relevant to whether he can lead or not, is my
well, you know what? I'm looking at this stuff, Jim, and I said, "No, okay, they throwing it out there. Now we can talk about Mary Sheffield consorting with known criminals who bribed city officials, who sold drugs, who she drunk driving charges and stuff. Should that play a role in this?"
Well, a lot of things could play a role, but I don't think they do play a role.
Right.
I don't think that it matters if the people are looking for a leader. You know, Mike Duggan wasn't the cleanest guy that ever walked. None of us are. We all have our issues. None of us are perfect. And I think that a week and a half before a primary to bring something out like that, it's politics, and that's how the game is played, unfortunately. And back to Eric for just a second. I was referring to Haley Stevens and Mallory McMorrow basically growing up in the same congressional district. Now they're running for statewide office. I'd like to see them run against each other and for Congress. But
who do you like in that race?
Who do I like?
Yeah.
For the U.S. Senate?
Yeah.
Here's where I'm not sure. I'm not there yet, but I don't necessarily have anything against Haley Stevens. I think that she tries to play the middle. She tries to be a centrist, and I kind of appreciate that. But the person that's going to help is Mike Rogers. if they beat each other up, the Democrats, Rogers only lost by 0.5 percentage point in the last election.
Mike Rogers, listen, Mike Rogers done sat and lived in Florida forever. And now he want to come back. They done pulled him out of retirement and stuff. Maybe you're right on that. But I'm just looking at the Democratic primary, and I'm looking at who comes into these areas with African American voters. Mallory McMorrow, I'm gonna be like Tom Hanks and Big. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it. But
hello, Stephanie Jackson. Wednesday I was on and I kind of backed off so that the candidate, Santil Jenkins, who was on, I wanted to give her a little bit more platform, and I don't want to make her, an inch big on the screen, so I backed out of the show. But G Money Hollywood, he's got his hand on. He's on top of things. So I don't know who he's talking to or what he's doing, but he seems like he knows as much as the pollsters out there. So I give him credit. He's right there.
Okay. Yeah.
I like his position. I think he's generally he's right on top of things. So thank you, G Money Hollywood, for bringing that to the show.
No question. So we got 1 week or so to the mayor's race. So this revelation of Reverend Kinlock at 19 had a domestic violence, etc. Is that going to hurt him, help him, or it don't matter?
I think it's a C. I think it doesn't matter, and I think it's a blip on the radar, and it doesn't hurt Mary Sheffield. The people that are going to vote for Mary Sheffield will vote for Mary Sheffield. I think maybe some of the others think it may bolster maybe James Craig or Santil Jenkins to that second slot if people are looking at it, Mary and everybody else as I am, as G Money Hollywood is. But I'm seeing a lot of people on the show are talking about Santil Jenkins, and we all know she's been on the show plenty of times, and there's probably nobody more equipped to take over the job. She's been a city council president. I don't know if she's the best choice or not. That's not my point. My point is that on day one she's familiar with the system, and she's definitely one of the top 2 or 3. For sure. I mean, Todd Perkins is up there. Solomon Kinlock is up there. Santil Jenkins is up there. There's a lot of people. There's a handful, I should say, 4 or 5 that have a fair shot, I think.
So you're a former cop, and a law enforcement, and the courts always use jailhouse snitches, people that's been convicted of crimes and shit, to convict other people. We had now in this case, we had a guy named Robert Davis who went to federal prison for stealing money, bankrupt Highland Park School District, and he calls himself a community activist, and he's a whistleblower and all this. People take that as this guy, he's doing the right thing. And you dismiss his background of what he undone. It's like a thief calling somebody else a thief and saying arrest them. But he's been stealing too.
Hello, Lynette. Keeping it real, Bowens. Thanks for tuning in. This is the issue with Robert Davis. He's been in trouble with the law. He's paid his debts to society. My only issue with that is he's going to take him 375 years to pay the money back to the kids that he stole from, which I have a really issue with that. But when you're on, the question is, if his name wasn't Robert Davis, if his name was Adolph Mongo or Lynette Bowens, would we say, good for Lynette? Look what Lynette did. She pulled out something that the community needed to know about. Or Karen Winston, for example, or Stephanie Jackson. Look, you can't help Robert Davis. You can't hate Robert Davis for doing what he's doing. You can hate him because he affected you negatively, but maybe we need people like Robert Davis in the community.
Well, maybe so, but and people are gonna say, there's the cattle call. There's whatever, you know. Uh, this is what we're dealing with. Uh, that shows you that the media in this town have dropped the ball and hasn't done shit. They wait for other people to give them what they are doing. We got Mr. M 1213 says, I think the John Barlow know how to build bridges with corporate and tech companies while looking out for residents in the city. Well, well, Mr. Barlow had his issues. Have him on next week,
You
even
don't like
though,
my music says I can hate people for very little, Jim. And I think maybe you've got a little bit more in common with him than I do. I'm kidding today. Thank you for your comments. You don't like my music. We're always glad to see you on. We appreciate your thoughts and your perspective.
why don't you read some of the
Mr. Perkins and Miss Jenkins exude the business acumen, but I think they lack charisma. Sorry, G Money, my eyes are tired. A city like Detroit is moved by charm, and only Kinloch and Sheffield possess that trait. It takes more than a plan.
Sheffield ain't got no fucking charisma. Ain't got no fucking charisma. I don't know where that coming from. What fucking charisma do she have?
No,
they got
Mr. Perkins and Miss Jenkins was who he said.
Okay.
Not Sheffield. He's talking about Todd Perkins and Santil Jenkins.
Well, they got charisma.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
Sorry.
well, okay. You get me riled up and stuff, and this is what we do.
And I don't think he's wrong. Well, the question is, do they want to really give you their plan right now? Because someone might steal it. I think that's been something we've heard a lot about over time. And on purpose, makes a comment that Detroit, especially downtown, is still a playground for white suburbanites. And I can, talk a little bit about that because, I went to a party. It was for Vanessa, our co-host. And around Christmas time, I think it was around Christmas time.
Wow.
And I drove down Woodward Avenue, and Woodward was packed. There's no question about it with white people, right? Shopping on Woodward Avenue like they did in the 1950s. It kind of struck me as funny because it looked like, Hudson's in 1956, right? I wasn't born yet, but you get my point. I think if you go to a Lions game, it's probably 85% whites. 85% white, and the bars and the restaurants, casinos are I'm not going to disagree with on purpose. They're full of white people. I think that's correct. I mean, I don't know how you change that.
Well, I don't know how you change it. You make the neighborhood vibrant again.
Yeah, I think
that's how you change it.
And like my music says, charisma is a bonus, but I think we all need less leaders and more representatives. I think I get your point. I think we need representatives that are leaders, I would argue. We do need more representation. And if this republic is going to dissolve at some time, it's because of a lack of representation and leaders. It's the same people, but it's all about the cash now, right? The representatives in Congress, when you're talking about $3.2 million a year and a half away, where's that money coming from? It's not coming from us, right? Politics has become about money and nothing else, it seems like. And a lot of these representatives aren't representing or leading anybody except themselves.
I saw Rashida Tlaib on TV today, and she was a stone lie. She was talking plenty shit about how FEMA don't do this, how FEMA don't do that, and she gonna introduce a bill. You too late, woman. You too late to introduce anything. And the shit that she was talking about, I know somebody that had a flood in Oakland County. And what she said FEMA didn't do, they did in Oakland County. So she's talking plenty shit. And then Channel 7 had a guy on there. He running for fucking city council. He used to work for Talib, talking about how he didn't get his insurance and all this shit. These reporters that they got, these new ones, they don't do their fucking homework.
But I think the perception is she's out there, like you don't like my music, she's out there with the people. She's representing her constituents, and that's what she's supposed to do.
Well, G Money says Mary has the present mayor backing, and that's all she wrote. She needs nothing else. But she's the one who has put up more boots on her. Listen, the fucking Duggan can't get nobody else elected but fucking Duggan. I'm going to tell you, you know, G Money, I love you, bro. Whoever you are. If Mary gonna have if Mary makes it to the finals, she gonna have whoever face her gonna beat her ass, because she got more shit in her closet than R. Kelly did.
And that may be true, but here's the issue where G Money's right. He's right because she's the, people get angry at me and say, oh, you know what you're talking about. She is the establishment candidate.
Well,
Mike Duggan was the establishment candidate.
She's not qualified to do shit.
Hello, Day. It's good to see you. We thought we were going to have to come looking for you. Karen says that they think they're all celebrities as opposed to servants. And as Karen was a public servant, she went to work every day for the citizens of Detroit. We look at it a little differently. We think the politicians should look at their jobs the way we looked at our jobs. She's $1 late for me, according to Lynette Bowens. I don't think G Money's off. I just think people are assuming that she's the candidate, just like they did with Douglas.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised she don't win. Listen, she's sitting around there with the. I don't even want to say. Read some more, Jim. Why don't you?
You don't like my music? I was just picking up on it. I know you're not talking about personalities. I know you're talking about leadership. Sounds like a big word. It seems like I think what you're trying to say is leadership as a commanding, directing people. And I don't look at leadership like that. I think leadership is a citizen leader, and that's who these people should be. They should be leading, but they shouldn't be commanding. They shouldn't be bossing, I guess, is what I'm thinking. And I think that's where you are. At the end of the day, it'll be up to the voting residents of Detroit. Absolutely. They get to pick who they want. The people that live inside the city get to pick who they want. But here's a point about that. We think that it just affects it affects the whole state. If we have a good leader in Detroit, it affects the suburbs. It affects the whole state. So it will be up to the residents of Detroit, and the residents of Detroit will have their say. I just hope that they take their time and they look at all the candidates before they make their choice, instead of being told. That brings me to another point about the UAW. Everybody got on Mary Sheffield about the UAW insignia, whatever the wheel, whatever it was that was on a flyer. And we come to find out that it was a group of UAW workers, locals, that felt that Mary Sheffield was representing them and went against their leadership team. So that really wasn't Mary Sheffield. It was the UAW, the local. I think it was Local 7, perhaps, if somebody has more information.
What makes Mary Sheffield qualified to be the mayor?
I think you have to ask our guests, our friends out here. I'm not arguing whether I'm not arguing who's best and who's worse. I'm just suggesting to you that she is the establishment candidate, just like Alyssa Slotkin. What did Alyssa Slotkin do to end up in the U.S. Senate? She was handpicked.
Fuckers like her,
No, she was handpicked. And I think, without the people of Detroit standing up and saying, we're not picking her, she has wouldn't you say she has the easiest path to one of the two seats going forward?
Well, I guess so. But let's take a break, and then we come back and we continue our conversation this is me and Jim Nardone, Detroit in Black and White.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure? Or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation. The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
Why don't you answer that question? Oh,
go ahead.
That one. Go ahead, Adolph. Queen Bee said, what makes Mary Sheffield qualified? She dances in front of the spirit of Detroit, gives turkeys and school supplies, and brings young Jeezy. I guess that's your point, Adolph.
That's fucking is my point. And you know, and you can bump into her in the club, right?
She's not going to the club I'm going to. She's way too young.
Well, they said we actually don't need any form of government, city of Detroit government. Actually, we need more innovative technology to police our communities, not officials and police. Got to have somebody, Day, to run the shit. What can I say? G Money, Adolph, I'm not just chiming in. I haven't lived in Detroit in 25 years, but I know Detroit, and it's my home regardless where I live, and they are a city that's moved by charisma. Kwame had it, and Young had it. You're absolutely right. I know, I agree with you. But it takes more than charisma. It takes guts. It takes balls. It takes all the shit.
Yeah, I think that little dance, the 313 dance, whatever, was probably a misstep on her part. I don't know who's advising her, but you know, that's just a bad look.
Yeah. Karen Winston, I attended a council meeting soon in Zoom regularly, and the majority of public comments are not happy with Sheffield. But lately she tries to be more likable. If anybody know who Charlie McCarthy is and Edgar Bergen, that's what you need to look at her campaign. She's a puppet.
So Queen Bee is saying basically that Todd Perkins is more aware of the budget than the city council. That doesn't surprise me in the least bit. Todd Perkins has the experience. He's been a prosecutor, all the things that I went through my notes when we talked to him last time. You know, that's another guy that's probably ready to lead on day one. That's just, you know, my personal opinion. You can disagree with me. A small businessman, prosecuting attorney, you know, effective in the courtroom. He wins big. You know, he's with the people too. I think Todd Perkins, unfortunately, in a couple of the, whatever you call them, meetings, debates, was shut out, I think, up on Mackinac, which I think was a travesty.
Well, you know, Todd is a great attorney. He should have been included in some of these forums and shit, and you know, and they didn't.
And to attack a guy that's contributed in the same instance, whoever you may be attacking, these, you know, and I've said this before on the show, these individuals that are running for city council, whether it's Solomon Kinlock or Todd Perkins or Santil Jenkins, you know, they may have a house up north or out a beach house or whatever, but when they're here, when they're in Detroit, they do nothing but contribute to making Detroit a better city. So attacking them for these little things, I have an issue with that. I think that's wrong.
Yeah, and I look at the fucking media, it's some assholes, and because they're not talking about the real issues and stuff. You know, you go back 32 years ago, or we can go back when, yeah, I remember when Jim Nardone was in high school in Taylor, and he smacked the guy in front of the science lab, or Adolph Mongo when he was at Oak Park. He said some things. I think he's a racist and a bigot.
Or you were
know,
drinking a beer behind
I
the
hear
party.
this shit. I hear this shit. You hear this shit. Does it make a difference? You go back. Now they open the door, a Pandora's box, for folks to come out and get all the damn domestic violence shit. Because we know in other campaigns, they got folks that's running campaigns. They got domestic violence charges, went to court, drunk driving, and all this other shit. People don't want to hear that.
Why would a drunk driving case 25 years ago affect?
But what people don't want to hear that, because they want to know, what are you going to do right now if you get elected mayor, etc. But, you know, Fox 2, they thought they had it. Oh, we got Ken Lock when he was 19. Damn, I thought the way they promoted it, you thought he killed somebody. Listen, he ain't killed nobody.
I think he's a good candidate. I don't know if he's the best candidate. He may not be my top 1, 2, or 3, but I think that he's a good candidate. He's definitely in the top few.
And we have had some good candidates here.
It doesn't matter what I think anyways, because I don't live in the city, but it does affect us.
Well, but Santil Jenkins said that she would like to work if she got elected. If she got elected mayor, she would like to bring some of those folks on to the administration because she liked them.
I appreciate that.
I like to hear that.
She has an open mind. I
like to hear that, because we do have some good candidates, and then we have some fucked up candidates, and we don't need them. And it ain't the candidates per se; it's the folks behind the candidates, the puppet masters, the ones that making the decisions and shit. You know, we don't need a soundbite mayor.
So did we lose Mr. Perkins? Did he maybe got tied up somewhere else? Teresa?
Maybe so.
I withdraw everything good I said. I'm kidding. No. Hopefully he joins us.
Well,
I think he's a good candidate. I really
do. He might not want to come on, because you know how I feel about different candidates and stuff.
Well, everybody gets to pick that lives inside the community. And let's hope that the voters, this is their opportunity to pick the right person. And Karen Winston always talks about some of those issues, like pensions and healthcare and the casinos. There's so many big issues that need to be focused on. And a promise made to the employees of Detroit that gave their heart and soul, that a promise needs to be kept. And we need people that are committed to that. And I don't care who it is, they need to be committed to, whether it's Todd Perkins or Santil Jenkins, Mary Sheffield, Solomon Kinlock, Fred Durhall. They're all good people. They all understand what needs to happen in the city of Detroit. But a lot of these communities have been living the last 3 or 4 years off COVID funds. They need to manage the money. The money's big. These are billions of dollars. These pensions are bigger than the budget typically.
Well, we need people that's going to talk, Jim, that's going to talk about the fucking issues, and not of the bullshit that they've been talking about. Some of them, there's no question. Mr. Duckett, I hope the energy will drive up voter turnout. I hope so too. You know, because at this point they started early voting, and are we gonna get people to come out?
So I think Lynette Bowen said they haven't, I think she means they, or that haven't picked the right one in my lifetime. I hope you're only 22, Lynette. Just kidding. For everybody, you don't like my music's asking about retirements and pensions. My only point about retirement pensions and Social Security and all those things is they're a promise made, and they need to be a promise kept. The politicians need to follow through. And I'll give you an example. When I was a pension rep in our little city, I was on the pension board, and we had $50 million in the pension system for police and fire. And the police budget was probably only $2.5 million, $3 million at that time, 30 years ago. My point is there's a lot of money involved. They're expensive for the community, right? But they have to be managed. 75% of pension earnings come from investment earnings. They don't come from contributions. So the police officer, firefighter gives contribution, the city gives a contribution, and there's investment earnings. The biggest problem is not managing that 75% of investment earnings. I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but that's how it works. When you buy, like the Detroit pension system bought the Grand Traverse Resort, which went bankrupt.
Did it have to go bankrupt?
Now you're getting really expensive.
Did it have to go bankrupt?
That I can't answer that question, but that was a poor investment.
Because that was. But it really, if you look at it, it wasn't a poor investment. It's that the people that was running it ran it into the fucking ground.
That's exactly right. I don't mean to be boring. Some of the stuff is boring, but it's a lot of money.
It ain't boring because it's so fucking true. Most Americans don't have business accounts registered under a tax ID. That's Ashley River. Okay.
And Dave's talking about Alyssa Slotkin, and I saw her story, and I've been to a couple of Alyssa Slotkin speeches. My niece, she spoke at her graduation at Michigan State University, and sometimes, I'm just going to tell you this, Dave, sometimes politicians exaggerate their experience and their skill and knowledge.
Well, she was a CIA operative, right?
She was in the office,
Yeah, right.
Well,
right.
That's what she says, but
me, Jim. I went to boot camp at Marine Corps Depot in San Diego. That made me a Marine. Fuck, I was a reservist. I was on. Listen, what did I do? Oh, I had a good time. So I can't tell you that I was a hero. I was in Iraq. I was here. No, I wasn't none of these places. Stayed right here in the USA.
I'm not attacking Alyssa Slotkin. I think she's qualified, but my point wasn't whether she's qualified or not.
Qualified. And you know what? If somebody elect you as the Senate, it used. Listen, Hillary Clinton never lived in New York and moved to New York and ran for the Senate and won. Same with Bobby Kennedy. Elizabeth Dole was born in North Carolina, never lived there as a kid. When she wanted to run for something, she moved back to North Carolina. Hadn't been there in 60 years and got elected. Mitt Romney was the governor of Massachusetts, born in Michigan, and then went to Utah and became a senator.
U.S. senator.
I'm just trying to rest my case, So you can be anywhere, any place, and anybody, and get elected. If people vote for you, they vote for you.
You know, Alyssa Slotkin's great grandfather started what is it, High Grades Ballpark Franks, that they were sold at Tiger Stadium, and they became nationwide, right?
I don't even think they cooking that now over there, because I've been over to the ballpark and ate a hot dog, and it don't taste like the hot dogs I used to eat at
out of the steamer.
Yes, they used to have it. It's like the hot dog been there forever, and you know, it just you got to spend $500 with 2 kids. You know, go to the game. Now
remember, it was $1, whatever. They had the striped hat and the striped shirts on, and I remember those days. And you could buy 3 beers and 3 hot dogs for $8 or whatever.
Yeah, but they don't do that anymore.
Yes, Queen Bee, I understand all that. Her grandfather's long gone, and I'm not saying she's not well qualified, but I see what her position was in the CIA, what her, I guess, rank was in the CIA, and it's hardly likely that she was as connected as.
She ain't killed nobody.
She may have. I may be wrong. I mean, I can't say I wasn't there, but.
Mission Impossible. Agent Slotkin, your mission, if you decide to accept it, is to become a U.S. Senator. If you don't get elected, we would disown you and shit.
She was an intelligence analyst. So, and it may be different in the CIA, but in the FBI and the DEA and some of these other groups, intelligence analyst is like one slot below, an agent. So she really wasn't an agent. She was an intelligence analyst, but I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. I can only give you my experience. So.
Okay. G Money said, Adolph, that goes to show you that name recognition is powerful. It's the political Bible, especially when it comes to voting. The average person does no research. You're absolutely right, G Money. Listen, I took my late father to vote one time, and he's in his 80s and stuff. Couldn't see, and he said, "Well, who's running for city council?" And I named the names. He said, "Put John Peoples." He was already on the council, Reverend John Peoples. I was like, "Yeah." John Peoples, basically, I told my father, he ain't shit. I didn't say it like that. He said, "I like John Peoples. I don't care about the other people. You can check off whoever, but you better check off John Peoples," because that's who he knew.
It was important to him because he knew the guy.
That was who he knew. He said, I've been knowing him for over 60 years. And I like John Peoples. So that's that. And you're right, G Money. It is name recognition. That's why you got 27 Hathaways sitting up there on the bench in circuit court, because it's Hathaways. That's why you have young bloods that been in office in Wayne County for 100 years. Because name recognition is name recognition. William Howard Taft had his great nephews, great grandkids, all of them they control Ohio. Shit.
Yes, they do.
Yes, the Roosevelts. How many names we can name, Jim?
That's right. And I think you don't like my music. I don't think we're necessarily disagreeing there. My only point was, I think that her position wasn't exactly what she just may have described it as, but I don't know that for a fact. So I'm not telling you whether the CIA is good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying that her qualifications as an intelligence analyst typically don't land in the Oval Office for a briefing with, and maybe she did, as she says. I wasn't there, so
okay.
That was my only point.
We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna do our final segment.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
I'm Santil Jenkins. My story, it's a Detroit story. It's the story of a girl who hustled to pay for college, whose family worked hard but struggled to pay the bills, who faced stage 3 breast cancer and beat it. That's why I'm running for mayor, to ensure no Detroiter is left behind.
As mayor, Santil Jenkins will invest in our neighborhoods. She'll make our communities safer and put people over politics. Santil Jenkins, Detroit's next mayor.
Okay.
So go ahead, Ada.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, you don't like my music talked about Cash Patel, and it's interesting. We were talking about the FBI. I was talking about a little bit earlier today, and about 3 weeks ago, you had Mr. Scott Bernstein on. I'd like to talk about it a little bit more, but they talk about the Jimmy Hoffa case, and a lot of the people that watch, that communicate, that our colleagues here are a little bit older, and I can only tell you this. I have my ideas what might have happened, but I can tell you this. The guys that killed Jimmy Hoffa were not one step. They were 3 steps ahead of the FBI and the Bloomfield Township and the Michigan State Police in 1975, because, there are people that even participate on this show that have worked in law enforcement. I'm not going to mention their names. I don't want to embarrass them. That could have probably solved the Jimmy Hoffa case in about 2 weeks if they were to been given free reign on it. But I don't think the FBI could do it in 1975. So the FBI is not the answer to everything, although I am a proud graduate of the FBI National Academy. So anyway, go ahead, Ada. I just think that people think that these people work magic, and it's not that easy. So
yeah, G Money said I did an internship at the Capitol in 1990 when I was attending Michigan State under the backing of Morris Hood, who was my sponsor. The Hood had a strong name in Detroit. Morris Hood and his brother and his father, they had a fucking strong name, but they did shit. They did shit, and they loved the city. They represented the city well, Yeah, sometimes name recognition gets you elected. It's what you do with it. If Smith is going to be the mayor of Kentucky Town, and his son going to be mayor of Kentucky Town, and his grandson going to be mayor, and they ain't done shit, then you got people just voting on name recognition. But if you go in and do what you're supposed to do, and then you look at people who use the Hood name that got elected that was no kin to them, but they piggyback off it. Are they some kin to each other? I know a judge that got elected because her last name was the same as an elected official, a couple of them. And people say, damn, are they some kin? Are they whatever? You're right. You don't have to tell me no more, because I know, name recognition do work.
So what about, like my music, Adolph? He makes this comment, and maybe you can comment on, the new law in Michigan on the freedom of information, if you're familiar, and what the governor did on that. Do you remember this one?
What did the governor do?
Well, she kind of tried to expand the transparency in the state of Michigan until it affected her, and then she kind of wrote herself out.
Right. Of course. I had to ask you that, because why it's pertaining to everybody else, you give them the information, but it pertaining to me and my office. Oh no, $500,000. They'll charge you $1 million to get.
That's not a radical idea. freedom of information is what this country was built on, and the press, and as long as it's not a ongoing investigation. That's why when you go back to Hoffa, you're not getting the information, because one of the reasons that it's still an open case is that way they don't have to release any of the information.
Well, and we talking about name recognition. Sometimes and people do get elected in Detroit without name recognition.
Yes,
it's hard work, and a lot of times people beat the folks that have name recognition and stuff. So
that's our friend Edward. Somebody, I forgot her name. I think it was a she. Ashley River is saying I think she's a NASA officer. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah, Edward A. said Detroit is generally vote by name recognition.
Yeah,
and partly don't, because we got folks that done got elected and nobody has heard of them, and we have at times put incumbents out of office.
And
Not a lot, but we have.
And Queen Bee said they tried to charge her $6,000 for information. That's the kiss off, Queen Bee. That's how government sends you on your way, unfortunately, and it happens sometimes. Obviously, we're on to something.
Yeah, we are on to something. I guess we got play tonight, huh, Jim?
We do what?
We got played.
Maybe. By whom?
When you offer people a forum to come on and talk about their campaign, and I guess when you don't agree with people or you're not supporting people, I tell you, I go into the belly of the beast. You might not like me. When I was out campaigning for other candidates, and you see a candidate yard sign, opposition in a yard, we go right up to that door and knock on the door and say, why are you supporting so-and-so? A lot of times they say, well, my nephew or my son or whatever put the yard sign, or the neighbor, and now I'm not really supporting them. And you have to, you don't run from it. You don't like.
Here's the thing, right? I think that
your office, but you are honest. That's all I respect.
And we feel the same way about you. You don't like my music. We're glad to have you, because different ideas are what makes the world go round. Back to Mr. Perkins, Todd Perkins. He came on this show before, and I was familiar with him, but I had never met him. And I think he's a formidable candidate. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's given a lot to the community, and I wish he were here so that our viewers, our friends, our colleagues out here could hear him talk to him one more time before August 5th. But unfortunately, he's not here. Maybe he'll come on tomorrow.
No.
Probably not. Roy McAllister got voted right off city council, Queen Bee, and that's kind of puzzling to me. It's clear that he was a one-termer, and I'm sure there's a reason for that, but
so it's not it's not a lock sometimes. It's not a lock. And I remember when the late Irvin Henderson, who was a great city council president, who was a trailblazer, somebody convinced her to run for mayor against Coleman Young. And when she ran, it's not that she was going to beat Coleman Young, it's that he finished last in a 6 people, 5 of them that nobody ever heard of. And she always had the most votes of any city council president or elected official. So, when people go out sometimes, once in a while, they make tough decisions and say, you know what, enough is enough.
So we had Mary Sheffield on Mr. 1213 about what, a month ago, Adolph? A little over a month ago?
Yeah,
And
we had all the major candidates on.
so you can go back and find that one. I thought she was good. I thought her interview was good. I'm not going to go into whether she's the best or worst, but I thought she presented herself very well when she was on Detroit and Black.
You know, she's somebody I wouldn't vote for, but that's me.
Yeah. I thought she was prepared. I know Queen Bee is going to beat me up any second now, but I thought she was prepared, and I thought she sounded like she had a handle on what she believed in, and I'll give her credit for that. There are some things she could have done better. Well, she has a record on city council, just as Santil Jenkins. You know, if you're going to beat up Santil Jenkins for leaving for a $450,000 a year job or $300, whatever it is, what would you ask? What would your brother, your sister, or your friend, if they came to you and said, "I'm making $118,000 on Detroit City Council, but they're offering me $350,000," what would you tell your friend to do?
Take the job.
And she was good at what she did, so I don't think she should be beat up over that.
Right. You know, well, people say all kind of shit that they don't know. And they don't know. Well, Jim, as we come to an end, it was me and you, Jim. You know,
and our friends here. It was all of us.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what Jim, Big Jim, your experience in law enforcement government, who do you literally see to be the best candidate that you bring a real change to Detroit? Who well, like Jim said, he don't vote in Detroit, so I won't put you in the corner, Jim.
But I could give you 4 names that I think are really good, and I think you know who they are. I don't think I have to explain them. I like the top 4 or 5. I think that, or 6. You know, if you think Fred Durhall can't run the city of Detroit, you're wrong. Whoever it is, Mary Sheffield, Santil Jenkins, Solomon Kinlock, Todd Perkins, they're all good candidates. I think Detroit's going to, whoever wins, Detroit wins. That's the way I feel about it. Thank you, Janet.
Okay. Well, your final thought, Jim.
I forgot Chief Craig. That was one guy I did forget.
Okay.
I just think that, unfortunately, he wasn't able to deliver the message that he needed to deliver to the community.
What message is that, Jim?
Well, I think we need safety in the communities. We need parks. We need people being, you know, Karen Winston said a month ago that she doesn't feel comfortable going out on the streets, and that's no way for anybody to live, right? I believe it was Karen. Karen, correct me if I'm wrong. That's who we want in our mayor. And, you know, people might beat me up on this. I'm not suggesting that what Donald Trump's doing right at the border, but I'm going to tell you this. He did what he said he was going to do. He was successful. So when people think problems can't be solved, you don't have to like solving the problem. You don't have to agree with what he did, but he shut down that damn border. It can be done.
Well, we need people that's going to shut out some shit here and do what they need to do. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully we have a full crew. We got Karen Dumas, podcaster, political consultant, that's going to be on. We have Vanessa back, and hopefully Allan, Jim. Thank you to all the folks that's out there that's doing that thing with us, Teresa, and we'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock, Detroit in black and white. Have a good